Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Power BI Snippet, your first video on Power BI or Power Query. So, introduction of Power Query. This is our video number 1, and in this video, we are about to talk about how to work with data preparation. Again, if you know how to work them in Excel, it is typically or to a greater extent is similar to Power BI Desktop. So this is available even in Excel if you are using Office 365 or 2016 or above version. You do have this option available inbuilt in your Excel application, and if you're using 2010 or 13, you have to add this as an add-on to your Excel series to work on that. Again, if you use above 2016 version, this is a far better tool to go forward. Again, this is one of the finest tool. Generally started built in Excel first of all, and then it is literally transformed to Power BI Desktop. And let's see how to play around with the data. And in today's point, we are going to see a very simple logic. So I'm going to give you two different variety of data. So normally when we are working in an Excel, you have certain restrictions when I deal with the data. But if you move the data to the data model, probably you don't have the situation to work around. But when you are working in a Power BI Desktop, there is no restrictions in Power BI Desktop. Your data can be moved to the data model automatically, and you can add any number of data to a list. If you want to do that in Excel, probably your Power Query editor is not sufficient for you to play around, because your data are added to your sheet, not to your data model. But if you move the data to the Power Pivot option of Excel, probably you can handle the data beyond the Excel capacity. For example, if I go down to this list, so the logic behind our data is very simple and pure. If you are using an Excel data, your maximum rows that you can add is 10,45,76 and 6,384 columns. So this is your number of rows and columns what you can add in Excel. But if you are changing this, and this can be used better if you're using a Power Pivot option, because the Power Pivot option converts your data to a data model. So data modeling will come into play when we are using a Power Pivot option. So let's see how to use this Power Query option better. So I'm about to just work around with a very simple data. First of all, I'm going to import a data which is available for us. So when I go to my data, you can see this is the tab that you have in 2016 version. Probably if you're using 1705 version and above, probably you get this kind of data, or else you'll get this get and transform probably in the next line item. So if you see, there is a tool called get and transform data. This allows you to bring in data from multiple sources. You don't have to have them all in Excel, but if you have it in Excel also, you can still bring them in. So normally if you want to pull the data, if you are about to do your data preparation in Power BI or in Excel, so you have to use the data option, and this get and transform data can be used for its best possible way. You can take a data from a text, you can take a data from a web, you can take a table range, or you can bring the data from multiple sources. You can bring it as a flat file, and you can see that the followings are the flat files that we have here: an Excel workbook, a text CSV file, XML file, JSON file, and folders. And if you are looking for a database, again, you can see a lot of databases are coming up here, from SAP to MySQL Server, and then SQL Server databases, Access databases. And if you have analytical services like SSRS, SSAS, and SSIS, bring all of them in Excel. And you can even bring an Azure table into our Excel. Remember, when your data are beyond your rows, that is 10,45,76, please don't bring them into the sheet. Again, I can convert that. I'll show you the differences as we go forward when I talk about Power Pivot Okay, I'll explain you about that a little better. In today's class, I'm keen to play around with Power Query, and I'm going to use one logic today that is called, I'm going to bring the data via a folder point. I'm going to import a metadata or a link of data inside my Excel using a folder option. So let's see how to use this using a folder option. Let me just bring in a data first. I'll show you small data, and I'm going to make this, why this is a very powerful tool. I'm going to show you that right now because I don't want to do this again and again and again, because I'm going to just make the data once and I have to follow certain basic thumb rules. If I can able to do that, I'm doing a great job, and I'm going to work with the data phenomenally great with that. So that makes my life and my workflow very, very easy. And remember, you have to have the data in one particular dimension. If you have the data in one particular dimension, then bringing all the data into our lists will be very easy for us. So I'm going to just take one small data. I'm going to bring in one kind of a data. Remember that when I work with Power Pivot or Power Query, so I have to be a little careful, because my data has to be similar in all the data that I have. For example, now I have three different sheets. I'm taking a very small data. As I go forward, I'll bring in big guns to us. So initially I'm playing with the very, very small data. So I have three different Excel files here, and you can see that I have a sale of a 2014 year, 2015 year, 2016 year. So I'm going to just take all of them, and you can see that this is the data structure. The first data structure is the month, the second data is sales for me, and the same way all the three data are built. Remember, if this is jumbled, if you do use a Power Query or Power Pivot, it's going to be a really horrible part, because your data is going to be very bad in shape. So please remember, when you are importing a data, let the data be similar. Don't have extra column, don't have lesser column. If the first file have two columns in one particular order, let the second, third, and any number of files that you have should also have the same. So let me show you how I'm going to work with this. I'm going to just make my life even more phenomenal. So I'm going to give you a situation right now, and then I'm going to show you how the situation is going to work really well in Power Query. And once you do this once you created this report once, that's enough. Then you can play around with the data however way you wanted it to be. So let's see how to do that. So I'll go back to our Power Query now, and I'm going to just bring in the data right. So let's see how to do that. So if you want the data to be in a particular sheet, you can define that. If you want the particular sheet to be done in a brand new sheet, you have the option to do it. So let me take you to one point, which is what is there available by default in Power BI. I'm going to just, or in Power Query Editor, I'm going to do that. So I'm doing it in an Excel file, so it's a little different from Power BI. Let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to my data, and I'm going to say get data and from folder. So I'm using a lot of mouse here, not using a keyboard shortcut here. Let's add keyboard shortcuts also in our subsequent videos. So initially, to get to know where this is available, how to work on it, what are the components are there, all these logic will come into play. On initial front, to open this data, it will take a little more time than normal, because you need to activate your .NET framework. And if you have an 8 GB of RAM in your system, then that's gonna make your life so easy. Again, I'm having a 4 GB RAM of my hardware, and it will be a little slow compared to what you do or what you work in a normal 8 GB RAM or more than that. So now I'm going to browse. I'm going to bring in a folder into my data. So I have just already added a folder here. So I'm going to just place the cursor in the text files one, and then when I give an OK, you can see automatically it pops up the three text files that I had inside that folder. Then it will show you that what is the data that we have here. Again, I'm going to extract this file, because I've opened and showed you the file what we have in sales 2014, 2015, and 2016. But what I'm seeing at the moment is the file name, not the data extract. So to bring in the data extract, I need to use transform data. So that allows me to bring the data into the Power Query Editor. So this is where our data are there. And now I'm going to expand this data one below the other. the excellent part of this is you can see this is typically like your Power BI desktop. So when I come to Power BI desktop, I'll show you the same screen what you're seeing at the moment in here. This is the same screen that's gonna even come in our Power BI desktop also. So I'm just using that inside an Excel. I'm not using it in Power BI desktop, but the similarity remains same. If you closely watch, this window has a lot of component here, and again this has 4 new menus. So you have a home tab, transform tab, convert your data into a proper data set, and if you want to add a condition to a data, you can do that, and you can see that there is a different kind of view structures available. I'm not going to go into the menus deep down now, just taking it very simply, lightly. I'm using an outline of our data. So I need to extract this data. I don't need any of these other columns, so I'm going to retain this column. So I'm going to give a right click and I'm going to say remove other columns. So all my other columns are removed, and you can see whatever I do in here, it's all going to be recorded on my applied steps here. On my right hand side, whatever I do, I can do it. This is not like a normal Excel file where once you do something, save it, you cannot revert back. Here, once even if you save it, you can come back to its, you can take the data to the back to its normal position. So I'm going to just remove it. You can see that all the data are back here. So let me do this again, and I'm going to extract this. So if I'm using a CSV file or a text file, combining a file is very easy for me. So I'm going to just click combine file. If you have a menu driven data here, and I'm going to just click this double arrow mark. It does the same for you. Click that, and your data are coined as per the order that is given or set earlier. So it's 2014 comes first, 2015 next, 2016 finally. Now you can see that I have 3 different data part, and I'm going to just say okay, and then automatically you can see the first is previewed to us, and the next 2 data will also be extracted. So you can see that the data are in particular order right now. 2014 first, 2015 second, and 2016 third. So now I got my data into it. Now I'm going to move this data to my Excel. So that gives you a combined data of all the 3 files. When I move this data, I have 2 options here. I can either say close and load or close and load 2. When I say close and load, it's going to create a brand new sheet for us, and then it's going to build the data there. Or if you already have a sheet, you want to move the data to a particular sheet, then you may be able to use the second option. I'm going to use the default one, so I'm going to just say click the close and load option. So you can see that it adds a brand new sheet to me after my sheet 2, and then it's going to add my data in a tabular format or in a table format. Remember, this allows this data to become dynamic, and I had 3 years of data, so you can see that it's added 36 rows into a list. It's a Power Query Connections screen. And if your data has a bug in it, if the data is not proper here, you can always edit this data by just going back to your text file data here, edit them, and see how the data are transformed here. You can set the data type also here. So I'm going to click this. You can see this is a data type. So you can change the data type, whatever you want to change this as. And when I come down to this portion, you can see that it is properly done here. So my data types are perfect here. I don't want to worry about it. So now I cannot resave it. I'm going to just click the above point to refresh it so that the data will be refreshed once, and then you can see the data. Now we can create a small pivot table here. I want to say yearly sales. So I'm going to just go back to my insert, then add a pivot table to the same sheet. So existing sheet. Then I'm going to place the cursor in here, and I'm going to just say okay. This is the data that I'm not adding it to my data model. I'm just adding it to my list here. So now you can see that my data are perfect. I have a yearly sales popped up into my list. And if you want to format them, you can do whatever you want to do with the table value field setting options. You can do that here. So now I got my list. When I took this particular class, I said that this is a dynamic data pattern. So now I have a folder where I have 3 years of data earlier. Now my management wants for 3 more years. They're giving me the data in the order that the Power Query is going to accept it. They're giving me a data of 2017, 18, and 19. Many people, if you're using Excel, you have to redo this process again. Whatever I did right now, for 10 minutes or so, you are about to repeat that. But in Power Query Editor, in Power Pivot, we don't have to do that. It's going to save a hell a lot of time for us. You have to keep certain rules, thumb rules to follow perfectly, and once you do that, you are going to rock the world. So now let me just go back to it, and I don't have the 2017, 18 and 19 file, but I'm just create them right now. So just come back here, copy, paste, paste, paste. So I've made this 3 and I'm going to just convert this into 2017, and I'm going to make a small change here because I need some changes in this point. So I'm going to edit, replace my 2016 with 2017, replace all, and then close it, and I'm going to add 10,000 rupees in 3 instead. So let me just show something here, close it, save it, and I'm going to rename this file now and call that as 2018 file. Open that and go back to the edit, replace the files. I'm just doing it what is required here, that's it. And then I'm just adding 20,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 here. Now I'm going to just right click here, rename the data to 2019. So now I have 3 more new years with me. And I'm not going to do anything, just I've added this file. If you already have this file inbuilt or you already have this file separately, you have to just drag and drop them to your data, then your data are ready for us. So now I'm trying to add just a few more data to change the data and show the data there is a difference in it. So I'm going to just save it. So now I got 3 more new files in my list. I'm not going to do anything very big here. Just go back to my sheet after I added the data to the folder. The only thing that I have to do is I have to refresh my table here so that it brings the data for me, and I have to refresh this pivot table one more time. So when I do 2 refreshes separately, I can see that. So now earlier I had only 36 line items. Now it's going to become doubled now. So you can see 20 or 76 new line items will be shown in here. So you can see 72 line items. Sorry about that. I'm doing a wrong number. And now I'm going to refresh this. It's going to add the next 3 financial years of data. And boom, you got 6 years of data. These. So Power Query allows you to do something phenomenal, and it's going to save a lot of time for preparing a report. If your report is one kind and you're not having a data, or if your reports are very little and your reports are regular in nature, the only thing is the data is going to get upgraded, and then your go-to point in Excel will be your Power Pivot. So that adds your data and keeps your data ready, and we already know that the Power Pivot table can do this for you, and I am making my pivot table even more powerful with a Power Query editor in it. Hope you learned something new today, and in our next session I'll teach you how to play around with 2 more dimensions of data. One, a CSV file, which is with the larger data in it, nearly around 10,45,76 rows, and I will go for a beyond data. If I have a data beyond my Excel capacity, then how with the world I will handle that. So we are about to see data as a logic.